Hello and welcome to our show. This is the Dale and Mike show. I'm Dale, and this over here is
Mike Jones. Hey, it's
Mike.
me.
Mike, yes. So we're going to start off with a little bit of news. You may wish to come at 11:45. Well, sure, you don't have any work to do. 11:45 at the Grants Pass City Council chambers. They will be talking without, you can't speak. Don't even try to speak. In fact, don't even think loud thoughts. You can sit there and listen while the Grants Pass City Council hears a report from John Bowen, and John Bowen's going to report to them how he spent enough money, enough city money, to put 2 patrol deputies on the road for a year.
Yes.
And he's going to help rebrand Grants Pass. And you know how Josephine County is the only county in the world called Josephine. Grants Pass is the only city in the world called Grants Pass. Now, it's no longer going to be called Grants Pass. Very few people know this. That first word, instead of grants, it's now going to be replaced with where any levy will. Where any levy will pass.
Yes. Yes. But it's too bad they're not right on that, though. If it were,
if it was just left up to them.
Yeah.
Right. It was only left up to the city. And when the city fathers, they're all fathers, and she doesn't show up for very many meetings. When it's just left up to them, and they don't have to bother with a pesky thing like a vote, then they'll just put it on your water bill. Really?
Yes. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. I think my water bill is about $100 a month more than what it was before, and I don't know how much bang we're getting out of that, but I'm glad that they can force that on us anytime they want to.
And they did it without any kind of citizen complaints. Why would they listen to complaints? Well, you're going to hear a little bit about officials not listening to complaints tonight. Now, you'll notice over my shoulder, here is the new front page of our website, and it's got all of these videos. You can watch them again and again, please do, and you can enjoy them for yourselves. And over my other shoulder, why, Dale, are you showing the road to hell? Well, you're going to find out.
What's it paved with, Dale? What's it paved with?
It's paved with good intentions and bad county.
Yes.
And so you're going to see why the road to hell is over my other shoulder, because that's what happened on the last day of the budget committee. You'll see. So Mike has these videos. Now, you can go see them anytime you want to, but we're going to play them all back for you in one lump sum, and then you'll get a chance to see our hero of the day, also a heroine, but that doesn't sound right. You'll get to see our hero of the day, Peggy Goodwin, suggest something that has been done before in Josephine County history just a couple of years ago, but Simon Hare doesn't like this idea. So you listen to this and see if you now know the truth behind all levy pushers. Mike?
I believe that spending the money where it will make the most impact is the right way to spend it. And $500,000 will make a lot more impact in our sheriff's department, given our budget, than it will in the roads department, given their budget and given the reserves that we've already got. And I also think in terms of, you can say, yeah, everything is long-term, so we shouldn't do anything in the short term. Well, why not have no deputies and give it all to put it all in roads if roads is the important thing? This is why outcome-based budgeting is important. I'm harping on this again, but setting those top-level priorities from the citizen's perspective from the start, that's the kind of thing that would help make these decisions more direct. I believe it's important to spend the money where it'll have the most impact. And I also believe, just from a perspective of trust and transparency, we've been telling our citizens for years that we cannot put more money in public safety because it's all dedicated. We see we have money that's dedicated where we have had the opportunity to move it to public safety. We're not doing it. What kind of message does that send to the citizens? The citizens who are voting against levies because they believe that we're not doing everything we can. So here we are. We can do something, and again, we're not doing it. I think that sends the wrong message, as well as not spending the money where it has the most impact. And that's all.
Following that logic, after the appropriation of $425,000, I would have assumed that that levy would have passed. It did get closer than the last one, I'll grant you that, but doing everything, $1.48 got closer. That was just the following levy after the appropriation of the 425. So that levy got closer than the last one.
He's so wonderful.
Yeah, what was it that the audience, you couldn't hear the audience in this, you can hear it when you play it back at home. What was it that the audience was complaining about there, Mike?
Well, I couldn't really hear him either.
Okay, well, they were complaining because Simon Hare was trying to tell us, because they've learned no lessons, that this was about trust and transparency, which she just said. Simon Hare tried to claim that the last time that the levy was much closer, and that no, that this was closer than the last time. That's what he was trying to say. This was closer than the last time, and therefore we can learn a lesson from all. No. This was not closer than last time. This was wider gap than last time, and everybody in the audience knew that Simon Hare was trying to change history again.
Yes.
And you know what's so good about this, Mike? Nobody in the audience was deceived by this line of bull.
Yeah, they didn't fall for it at all.
He can't get away with anything because we're watching him. And thank you so much. You know, we have to leave every party early now.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm full of hamburger, which is why I'm slurring some of my words. Not because I've been drinking, because I haven't, but I'm just full of hamburger. Yeah, right. And so thanks to the last video we'll show tonight, Judy Aarons. Thank you, Judy, for the hamburgers. Look, we weren't fooled by any of this. We've got their number. We're watching them very closely. And Peggy Goodwin, this was the second suggestion that she made. We played the last one for you last night. We're not going to keep playing videos over and over again. We never do that. And so she had suggested that $1 million could be taken out of 8. Oh, no, we can't do that because that would fund the sheriff's department. And that's not what this is about.
Yes.
Okay, play the next one, Mike.
Okay.
Bill Hunker, Merlin, Oregon. I just want to follow up with what Margaret had to say because I spent an hour up in Lane County with the Lane County jail people, and we went over their budget because it was the same group that was hired up there to run their levy as it was hired to run the levy here. We wanted to know what they had been doing, how their levy passed after 10 times. And one of the significant things that I had never heard prior to that was about the public works funds. And he said, oh my, he says, our entire deputies are out on the road on public works money. If we did not have the public works money, we would not have deputies out. And he says, it 100% is paid for on our deputies who are on patrol are paid for by public works. And I said, oh, I didn't even know that existed. He said, oh, it wasn't always, but he says, it's just been a godsend for us. And to realize that you guys either don't know that that's being done, I can't understand. Lane's got thousands and thousands more people than we do. They have far more roads to patrol. They have far more going on, and they don't seem to have the kind of interest that you do in keeping the roads paved as opposed to keeping their deputies. So I thank you, Margaret, for at least your attempt. And for the rest of you, get informed.
Well, Bill, they are informed. They know this. They've done it before, and they can do it now.
Yeah, I think he was throwing them a bone and easy out, but in reality, they know that this is the case, and there's just no will to spend that money. And this is what I love about this series of videos. It just rips any pretense off of their, this this idea that somehow that they're interested at all in funding law enforcement. It has nothing to do with that. This is about funding government, and she could have kept ratcheting down, I guess, until she found a number that they would agree with. Okay, I'll take $25 and take it out of the road fund and give it to the sheriff. She eventually would have hit somewhere, but in reality, it would have been fine if they took the $1 million out of there or $500,000 out of there. It wouldn't hurt anything. And yet,
it keeps coming back in. It keeps getting replenished. Well, we might need all that money, Mike, see, because what if there was a huge earthquake? And what would we do then? Hey, really, you really think that we're in more imminent danger from an earthquake? A big one is coming, okay, then we are on remember how you said it was an emergency and maybe the governor was going to come marching down here, 10 soldiers and Nixon's coming? We're finally on our own, okay? So we are on our own. This is up to us. And the fact that we're watching these guys and we can see that all of that talk, oh, it's an emergency situation, we must do this right away. Why, don't pay attention to those numbers. Don't look at the guy behind the curtain. Why, it's an emergency. Now that it's here and we can do something about it, oh, well, we really couldn't do anything about it.
Yes. Yes. So, you know what? I hope you're paying attention. If you were one of these well-meaning people who was for the levy, thinking that that your leaders actually wanted to spend some money on law enforcement, they actually wanted to find a source of money for law enforcement. Well, I hope that you're seeing this and you're realizing that that really isn't true. And I hope you're not one of those useful idiot people of theirs that, despite knowing this, are going to continue to spout, the venom that somehow the anti-levy people are crazy. No,
well, there are those people. And Mike is saying this on social media. He's bringing this stuff up, and we're playing back these videos on social media, and then one of these loons comes forward with, well, how many board feet are there in the timber that's owned by the county? What the heck are you talking about? How many how many angels can dance on the head of a pin? That's not the question. This is 1/8 of the money, or 1/16 of the money, not that we're spending, that we have in reserve that could go to this emergency situation. Answer that question.
Yeah. No, and the whole point is that there are people pushing this behind the scenes, and the people that you see on this board here in these videos, they are beholden to those people who we have no idea who they are. They are beholden to them, and they need to accomplish this task of getting more money from the taxpayer for whatever purpose they want to spend it on. And, so now you should know. You should know. And if you don't, yes.
It bears repeating. Bears live young. It bears repeating. These commissioners would get no 10% skimmed off the top. Why, it's not about that. Okay, if it's not about that, they will not get a dime out of this money if it's shifted over from roads into this emergency situation. Yeah, many of you who are good people, you wanted more funding for the sheriff. Okay. We told you that you couldn't trust these guys. Oh, yes, we can. Yes, we can. Now that you see that 1/16 of the reserves for the roads could be spent to make sure that the sheriff has deputies on the road, they don't want to spend it. Why, there has to be more to it than that, Mike. Is there more to it than that, Mike?
Well, this is interesting. What you're saying is that the commissioners are these people that want the 10%, and so they're not going to take any option that doesn't include the 10%. Well, what then is Dave Daniels' motivation to kowtow to their desire, the commissioners' desire to have 10%? What could that possibly be?
Well, every time I talk to him about this, and we've talked to him live on this show about this too, and I said, Dave, now he was stuck. He was going to do this all the way through to the end. And I said, Dave, At that point, I said to him, we trust you to buy your own paper and toner. You don't need to give the money to the commissioners who say you're going to give it all back. Well, if they're going to give it all back, why did they take it out in the first place? Okay, all of it. Well, Cliff Thomason says they'll get back 150% of what they. No, no, no. He also said that it was 0.5 or something like that. Get stuffed. Okay, so like an Oreo cookie, of course.
Yes.
Look, the point is that if any department head wants to, in an emergency situation, wants to run their own budget, emergency, remember, clang, clang, that they could. This guy could. Okay, well, maybe you trust him a little less now. He's said and done some stuff which not exactly makes him everybody's favorite on both sides. But I believe that he could be in charge of deciding really how much they need for this. Really could be. As a matter of fact, just a little tiny thing, I was in one of those little backroom meetings where they were talking about the sheriff literally buying his own toner and paper. Now, wait a minute. Didn't you just use this as the perfect example of what you had to buy for him with this 10% skimmed off the top? So if you're buying, literally, it was the same thing. They didn't see any irony in this. If they're buying the toner and paper for him, then why is he buying toner and paper for himself out of his budget?
Right. Yes. Listen, you know what? I am very reluctant to whip out the word liar, but when it comes to stuff like this, these guys that are saying that they're concerned about law enforcement, they're obviously lying in this particular situation, because if they cared about law enforcement, they would take that $1 million out of the road funds and they'd do it right now without any hesitation. But they don't care about that. That's not what this is about. So if you think that you're going to get on board with the next levy, understand that these guys have other intent for the use of the money that comes in. So when that levy does pass, it's not going to go to what you think it's going to go to. Not with these people at the helm. That's pretty much a guarantee.
Now, we both said, and then we're going to play the next clip, and you'll see Simon's reaction to this. We both said, look, there are a lot of good people, not everybody, but there are a lot of good people on the pro-levy side. And you thought, you bought into it, you drank some of the Kool-Aid anyway, that this was about public safety. Now you've got a situation, of course we want good roads. And Public Works says our roads are at tip-top condition right now. Now, let's suppose that the roads started to slip a little bit for a year. Okay, using 1/16 of the money that's in the reserve, not the money they're spending every day, it's in the reserve. 1/16 of it would fund a lot of the sheriff's deputies and some of the stuff, and patrols, and it only can go to patrols. It can't go to paperwork.
Yes,
but they won't spend it.
Right, and Simon is making the argument that if we take this $1 million out of here and spend it on deputies instead of leaving it in the road funds there, that somehow the roads are going to deteriorate and have huge potholes in them that are going to kill people. No, in reality, even if we take $1 million out of there, we still got $7 million in the reserve fund here, and money is pouring into that fund constantly. There is no danger of the maintenance dropping off on the roads. It's just not going to happen. This is a phony excuse.
That's reserve money. It's reserve money. It's not even maintenance money. It's reserve money. What is the possible excuse? Now, you'll hear Simon talking about this, but here's what to keep in mind, in my opinion. Yeah, here's what to keep in mind, in my opinion. Okay. So Simon's going to make an outrageous claim here. Here's what you need to think about. If people are dying on the roads, and we know that they do, from what are they dying? Ooh, good English, Dale. From what are they dying? Drunk driving. Simon knows something about this. They're dying from too much speed. Okay, they're not dying from missing stripes.
That can go two different ways too.
Yes, they're not dying from missing stripes. Okay, they're not dying from missing guardrails, because Public Works has told us several times we're at tip-top condition. Basically, we're keeping up with all of it. Basically, okay, but let's not let it slip at all. Okay, don't let it slip. Well, also, it'd be nice to have all these millions and millions and millions and millions and millions in reserve just in case emergency striping needs to be done. What the heck? So here's Simon's response, and you go ahead, listen to what he says, see if you buy it.
Roads account for probably an equivalent amount of accidents, maybe even deaths, relative to homicide in Josephine County. I challenge you, it sounds good, it feels good to go ahead and spend that money, but all of that goes into guardrails and stopping potholes and making sure things are up to snuff so people who drive way too fast, and I can't change that, have an opportunity to drive on a safe road. If I do have an example of where the public has weighed in on gas tax dollars, they don't want that money going anywhere else. They spend it for roads, they want it to go for roads, and they express that in an election. I don't have an election on road dollars that are appropriated by the feds. What I do have is a conundrum with 74% saying in an election in 2012 that the current level of public safety does not meet their needs. We've got to come up with solutions. Robbing from Peter to pay Paul, I don't see that being a solution. That's a Band-Aid that doesn't get you anywhere.
Well, robbing from Peter to pay Paul is a state-sanctioned solution. They said you could do it. What the heck?
We've done it in the past. We've already done it in the past.
This is hocus pocus, plastic banana, good time rock and roll stuff.
And the other thing is, although we've already done it, we have all these millions in reserve. Even after we've done it, doesn't that prove that this is ridiculous?
Yes. Yeah. Listen, I'm hoping. I mean, because this is the unadulterated Barbara Streisand you're looking at here. You know, it's very, very clear. There's nothing covering it up. It's not even.
There's a big nose involved somehow. I like Barbara Streisand.
No. It hasn't. The initials. It hasn't even started to compost yet. That's how fresh this stuff is. So it's very, very clear. It's easy to tell what we're looking at here. It is pure. It's in its purest form. Yes.
Now, what in the world? Now, we've seen some of the answers from social media. Count the number of board feet in the timber. What the heck? That's not a very good argument. But what are the arguments that people are trying to say to support Simon Harris' point of view? What could they possibly come up with? I mean, really, this is the perfect ending to that whole levy thing. What possible answers can they have, Mike?
Oh, they're toting his line about it would be disastrous if you did, if you interrupted road funding somehow. That's. But listen,
these are reserve monies.
Yes, but you know what? Listen, you know what? A volcano could go off. 10 miles from here. A fresh one could come up out of the ground, take the whole place up.
Hey, if they said it was an emergency. They already said it was an emergency. Remember, emergency, we must vote to raise our taxes. Right. If there's an emergency, it's not on the roads. It's not because of emergency striping that's needed. Come on. You have an opportunity here. She laid it out clearly. First she said $1 million, then she said $500,000, then she says $1.95. You're not interested.
Yeah, right, exactly.
There's no two answers to this. What any other possible answer that these levy supporters, Simon Harris supporters, crazy supporters, what could they possibly say?
Yeah. Mike? Well, and listen, they'll say all kinds of stuff. You know how this stuff goes. Whenever there is an issue, it doesn't matter how crazy. Some people will say, well, that depends on what the meaning of the word is. People will pull that on you. So if people are willing to go to that extent to rationalize this type of behavior, those people are in the non-converter camp. There's nothing you can do with those people. They're done. They've sold their soul. There's nothing you can do to help them. But you can show the rest of the people this and go, listen, even if you were a levy supporter, look at this. We pay attention to this. This is why we mistrust government. This is the kind of stuff that we see happening every day, and now maybe you can see why we mistrust government, why we don't want to give them more money. And they don't even want to take money that they could help this situation out with, because they don't want to lessen the dire emergency that exists with not enough law enforcement.
Okay, let's make this again crystal clear.
Okay.
We're not talking about everyday funds being cut back from maintaining our roads. First of all,
I would be in favor of that, by the way.
I bet you would. Okay, first of all,
I would.
The roads, according to our own county, are in excellent condition. Well, when you think about it, okay. Number two, this would not touch the road funds that are spent on an everyday basis on the roads, on maintaining the roads. It wouldn't touch that. It wouldn't touch it if you had to do it 3 times or 4 times as much. It wouldn't touch that. Okay.
That's right.
This is only talking about a temporary, and it can be borrowing, because that's what we did last time, from this huge, huge surplus of money that's sitting there just in case there's emergency striping that's needed. And it's not going to cost millions and millions of dollars.
That's right.
We have what they said, what you said, levy supporters, was an emergency. Think about the children. Okay. Now, we need to stripe those roads before we think about the children. What? So, a call to you, to your friends, to your neighbor, probably not watching this show, but to your neighbors that voted pro-levy on this. Just say to them, now listen, call Simon Hare. Call Keith Heck, because although all that Keith did was grunt, that's typically, about half the time, that is his contribution to the argument. He grunts. No, I'm not making that up. This is not a joke. Okay? So that's Keith Heck's contribution to the scholarly discussion on this subject. He grunts. So call Cheryl Walker and say, now listen to me. I supported this levy. I supported you. You better put this money in with the sheriff, and you better do it right away, buddy, or your bottom is grass. You know? Really. Please, we can come together as a community. We don't have to be at odds with each other. We were at odds with those people, with some of you, because we didn't trust these characters. Now you can see. Unless you drank all the Kool-Aid and you're just living and breathing Kool-Aid all the time, you can see that they have a solution, and they've had this for years, and they could do it. And Keith Heck keeps saying, ha ha, those foolish citizens, they think there's money that's extra that could be spent. We know now that there is extra money. It could be spent. She suggested $500,000. That's 1/16 of the reserves. It won't touch the roads. It won't stop the roads from being maintained. You call them and you say, you know what? I've had it up to here with you. We supported you with every crazy thing you did. Cheryl Walker, you broke the law. Simon Hare, you lied to us. Keith Heck, you just grunted. We're now disgruntled.
Yes, right, exactly. And, the bottom line is they could even spend $2 million out of this, and it wouldn't be that big of a deal.
It'll be replaced. It comes in every year.
Yeah, it comes in every year, and you know what? They ought to be using that money. I'm always griping about this. You've heard me always gripe about this. The problem that we have here has nothing to do with not having enough money. It has to do with where the money gets put, how the money is allocated. And we have this screwy allocation thing where this money can only be spent for this money can only be spent for that. And who do they always make sure that they short? The sheriff. And why do they do that? Because they want you to feel like you're unsafe. They want you to have the perception of being unsafe so that you'll vote for more money for them to do what they want with it. And, I hope that this is getting through to people, because it's important that you pay attention and then you actually know what is actually going on.
Well, it's our attempt to do that. It's our attempt to do that. Play the next person that got up there, Mike.
for 35 years of my life, I did budgets bigger than this one. And I could tell you that if I put this budget together, it would have been a lot different. I haven't lived here but 5 years, so possibly there are reasons it's put together this way. However, I worked for a much larger institution than this county for 28 years. And when they had budget crises, they did what was called a 10% reduction across the board. Everybody's salary is reduced 10%. You took 2 days off a month. And everybody still had a job, and all their benefits were full, and they took that money and they plugged it in where they needed it. I see no reason why this county should not be able to do that. I know you have union contracts, and Simon gives me that odd little look there, but these union contracts are not infallible, and the union was negotiated, and it was asked me at the time when I was at the University of California, and they negotiated with that union and UPT and a few other unions, nurses union, to do this. And it was because we were at rock bottom budget areas where, you know, things were going to have to close down, departments and things like that. So they negotiated with the union and said either we're going to lay people off because we have bad times going on here, or we can take a 10% cut across the board. They negotiated. We came out just fine at the other end, and you know what? I loved having 3 days off twice a month. It was great. And I took a middle of the weekday off so that my staff could actually have 3-day weekends. So, and I was a department manager. So I don't understand why you couldn't. I was also very amused when Margaret Goodwin made a very good suggestion to move $1 million out of roads and into public safety for sheriff patrols. And no one even seconded it. And that just amused me because you're more worried about roads being nice and cool and instead of people's lives at risk because we have no public safety. So are you more worried about cement and pavement and bridges? You know, there's always another way to get home if a bridge goes out. You know, you make another road around something and you do it. And that's how people in the, you know, they used to drive wagon trains in the old days. We can do that. We're made of better stuff than having to worry about our roads being paved with every little gravel spot you find or every pothole. We're better than that. And we're also better than cutting. Every cut that's come out of there has come out of the sheriff's department. I think you should be ashamed of yourselves for that. Thank you.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting that she said in there, she's calling out Simon, you know, saying you're more concerned about the roads than you are about the sheriff, and that isn't really it. Simon doesn't care about the roads. He doesn't care about it at all. He just knows that if he moves the money from over here to over here, then the pressure has been relieved a little bit, and you never relieve that pressure because the pressure ultimately, they think ultimately, will help them get to their goal of passing a levy, which will lead to another levy and, you know, another crisis where they don't have enough money. We all know that. Listen, a lot of people from here are from California. We know this. You pass this stuff for more funding all the time. It never solves the problem. The problem only gets worse. And they
SOS is already
money.
have SOS tomorrow night. We'll have a meeting about the next steps. They're moving ahead. They're going to do more of this.
Nice.
Okay? They're absolutely convinced that this was a great victory for them in a way. And the lunkhead people didn't come around this time, but they'll come around next time. They're moving ahead, buddies. Now, listen, what Mike just said, well, he's not really interested. You might say, oh, well, I don't think that Mike's right this time. Okay, then what is the reason why the commissioners won't even allow a 16th of the reserves to be spent on getting money? You wanted money for the sheriff. Here is your opportunity. We can't spend a 16th.
And people specifically wanted patrols. And that's what this money has to be used for, is patrols. Oh, no, we can't have that.
You know, you're going to find it very difficult. Your neighbors are going to find it very difficult to justify this. Why are you not already on the phone? Well, because they're not there. Well, you should be on the phone now and leaving them a message. What's wrong with you? I mean, really, this is not just the smoking gun. This is our videotape of the gun fired straight at your head. The sheriff should be really upset about this. They could fund him. They're not going to fund him. What's the reason? Because of Road to Hell? Really?
I'd love to hear his spin on this. Sadly, from what I've heard from him already in past encounters, I don't think he would even spend 2 minutes talking to you about this. I think he's right in their camp, unfortunately.
But he needs the money, Mike. He's made it clear he needs the money. He can't do it, but yes, the money is there.
However, he also is one who is not for anything that is going to take the pressure off of the potential of getting a levy passed. I don't believe it. He's going to have to prove it. He's going to have to prove it. Dave Daniel, if you're watching this, why don't you come out and tell us how ticked off you are about this and how you need that money, how you want that money, because that money's for public safety and you actually care about that. Let's see that happen.
And this show isn't just about being ticked off all the time. It's just when you see this kind of thing, you go, this is worse than the levy. This is money that's right there. This is 1/16 of the reserves. You could do this. They could have done it on Thursday.
Well, the sheriff should have been in this meeting. The sheriff should have been in this meeting.
Wasn't there. And one of the people said, well, no, wait a minute. Where's the sheriff to ask for, whatever else he needs? He's not here. What do you mean he's not there? The DA was there. Well, we need to have – the DA actually said, let me talk to you just a little bit, because the next two things are about how the money is spent. It's not directly about roads. So the DA gets up. For those of you who know anything about computers, you're watching this on a computer, okay? The DA got up and he said, I need another secretary type of person. Okay. An assistant type person. Okay. And she is going to need a computer. Okay. Now, we use computers all the time. I'm constantly editing stuff on a computer. Okay. And the computer's worth about, Mike, $600, $700, something like that. And it chunks out.
Depending on whether or not you shop for a deal, and we always do.
And one would hope that they would spend our money this way. And so we get out every one of these high definition videos. Yes, I do have to sit here and wait for a danged hour for the thing to come out. That's just for step 1, and then there's step 2 and step 3, and so 3 hours. Why don't you do them faster, Dale? I can't do them. My little feet won't run any faster on this thing, okay? So we do know what these things cost. So when the DA gets up and he says, and of course we'll need to buy a computer for it, okay, that computer will cost, are you ready for this? $3,000.
Yeah, what does this thing do?
$3,000 computer.
Do we straw into gold or something?
That's a really good one. You stamp your feet. If we put one of our videos into that, instead of taking an hour, it would be done.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? It would be.
Yeah.
I mean, really, literally.
A $3,000 computer, it would as soon as you hit the render button, boom, the video would be done a couple of minutes later at a maximum. And,
I've seen them done on some of these, high definition videos done in just a few instants. And I was at one of these conventions. People went, "Oh man, no, that can't be done." It was done. Okay, then some of you have a scanner. Some of you don't know what I'm talking about, but ask a 12-year-old in your neighborhood. Some of you have a scanner. $1,000 for a scanner.
Wow. Yeah.
Now, we're not talking about one of those, 3 feet wide scanners that takes big. No, we're talking about legal documents. Okay, so maybe it's 14 inches instead of 11. Come on, $1,000. This is how they're spending your money. These are the $5,000 toilet seats.
Yes, sadly, yes.
Okay, so Sandy Casanelli. Now she's going to talk a little bit about Lisa Shipley. Now just keep in mind, Lisa Shipley is the person at Veterans Affairs. Good day for this because today is Memorial Day. And Lisa Shipley, we caught her giving a briefing to the commissioners where she was explaining that part of her public outreach for a previous levy was to convince old folks at a retirement home, at all the retirement homes, that if they didn't vote for that levy, and by the way, it didn't pass and this didn't happen, that their veterans benefits would be at risk because the veterans office very well may need to close. Instead of firing her on the spot, the commissioners waited a bit and then gave her a big raise. And Sandy's going to tell you what kind of raise that Lisa Shipley got. Go ahead, Sandy.
Sandy Casanelli, Merlin, Oregon. We hear a lot about the county's financial woes, about how it's at bare bones, hanging by its fingernails and close to the fiscal cliff. Yet on February 4th, the BCC gave the Veteran Service Officer a 5-grade pay increase. That's not 5 steps, 5 grades. This grade starts at $25.82 per hour, and with time, Lisa Shipley would end up making $34.18. To put that in perspective, at the end of the pay grade, this program manager, who oversees a tiny $215,000 budget, will earn about what our elected officials are being paid who manage multi-million-dollar departments. It wasn't that long ago when we had a veteran service office open 40 hours per week, but several years ago, Lisa said she was swamped with paperwork and needed time to do it when she didn't have to deal with the public. Her request was to work 10 hours per day for 4 days a week. But when she received help by way of additional personnel in the program, she did not reopen the office to the public on Fridays. From 2007 to the present, the program went from 1.75 FTEs to 3, but the public's access to the department decreased. They're still closed on Fridays, but additionally, they are currently only open for walk-in business on Mondays from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays are accessible to the public by appointment only. This hardly seems worth $180,000 that we're paying in personnel services. Lisa gets over $90,000, her assistant gets over $55,000, and 2 half-time employees get over $16,000 each per year. The travel and education allotment are over $9,000 and is exorbitant, as are other elements in the budget. But this program has yet to outreach to some of our World War II veterans in our area. On July 26, 2011, when the Rogue Valley chapter of the American Merchant Marine Veterans had a town hall meeting here in the Ambassador, Lisa could not attend. And it seems that even with all this travel and education money, it still hasn't prompted her to make the 17-mile trip to Gold Hill to talk to these Josephine and Jackson County veterans at one of their meetings. This 5-grade pay raise given to Lisa Shipley was shameful, and it is an egregious waste of taxpayers' money to continue to pass budgets like this without the proper fiscally conservative scrutiny it deserves. This budget is all about maintaining and increasing salaries, benefits, and retirements for county employees. Thank you.
Now, this is just one example. And we gave you the one about the computer. Now, here is Judy Ahrens following up, and we were at her house today for a Memorial Day thing, and Judy and Sandy.
We can't say anything bad about Judy because
No.
she made us some Jell-O that was really good, and we want some more of that. So this lady who's coming up next is awesome.
Yeah, well, awesome for that. But did you see her trying to nail that Jell-O to the wall? It wasn't working out very well. Very much like trying to have a budget that makes sense. But both of them, both Sandy and Judy, were looking for Lisa Shipley at today's Memorial Day activities.
Mm.
Well,
absent.
I don't know, but they could not find her. Here's Judy Ahrens' response to this one example of how your money is being spent.
Judy Ahrens, residents of Josephine County. How disheartening. What what Sandy Castanelli just reported, facts and everything about employees here that works in the Veterans Department going from so many days down to appointments only and everything. What a disgrace. What a disgrace. And I think I'm going to make a promise to you. What she read, I will make sure. My schedule's been very busy, and I'm a widow, and I have a lot of heavy things I do around my house, and I'm all over the neighborhood with clubs and things I belong to. But what she just stated, trust me, if it's not going to be on KJO, and it's not going to be in the Courier, it's going to be by Judy Ahrens, like the stagecoach. I will go around and I will share every bit of that information. So help me God, I'm making an oath right now. That is so important, what she shared. What a scam. What a downright scam that we have people that we pump up and give them so much time off, and they're doing this, and they can't even be available for even Memorial Day coming, and for people giving their lives. And how many are you going to be at the Memorial Day service over in Hillcrest? I hope I see some of you, and I hope you're not on your cell phones or your iPads or something. This is such an important day. I went down to City Council, and I shared that with them, and they didn't know they weren't supposed to applaud, but maybe we'll get some of those City Council people at those meetings. Of all the things we have to be grateful in this country, we can't even lift a finger for our veterans. Thank you, Sandy Castanelli, for what she's doing, because if she's got that typed up, it's Judy Ahrens will be going around the merchants around here. We will let them know what they're doing. And then we can tell them on top of that, this whole exercise and all this time that people have given up, and people here in the audience against a levy, all the information that was presented, and a lot of you didn't even look at the other side, and churches and what have you. And yet we hear this morning this afternoon when Margaret Goodman was sharing that we can move and transfer monies, we have this one opportunity. There are still 3 of you that decide no way. Well, then apparently that whole levy exercise was against a just big farce. What hypocrisy? What hypocrisy in our own community? It's shameful. I love the beauty. I love the people here. But my goodness, we've got to get the word out. If the Courier won't do it and KJO won't do it, by gosh, we'll find other ways to get the word out. And if I have to make thousands of copies, people will let them know today how you weren't going to do it. Margaret Goodman is my hero, and so is Pat Fahey. Pat, I don't always agree with you, but today I do. That you at least said that we can move some money over for the Sheriff's Department. Maybe it's just it's a payback time. It's okay. It's okay, because I'm only passing through this life anyway. But while I'm here, I'm going to make sure justice is served, even at the odds I might have to pay. Thank you.
Wow, that was intense, man, and she is seriously ticked there. No, this is. You know, it's just you show people fraud, waste, and abuse, and they get mad. I mean, what other reaction could you possibly expect from them? And the problem is that this is the stuff that we've been able to uncover and see. There's plenty more of this you don't know anything about.
Well, you guys spend some time, please, thinking about how in the world can this be justified? Please, 1/16 of the reserves. Come on, you know. And these 2 ladies, they were at the Hillcrest Memorial services for fallen heroes. That's supposed to be for people who've died in war. Commissioners weren't there. They didn't see them. They weren't there. Well, now wait a minute. You know, let's put up a sign saying "Welcome Veterans." Really, really. Where were they? Okay, so if you're for law enforcement, if you're for veteran services and not being cheated, if you're for adequate representation, Mike and I suggest that what you do is that you join forces with some of those who have been questioning government, and you say, you know what? We do question this. We're united in this question. What are you thinking? What are you doing? And if you think they're the world's best guys, well, this time they've sort of fallen off the path. So just reach out, brothers and sisters, and pat these Christians back up on the path and say, you know, this is important to us. Don't be lunkheads.